Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, Marjorie Ngwenya is a British-born, Zimbabwean-raised actuary who's been appointed a member of the Bank of England's Prudential Regulation Committee, which supervises banks and investment firms. Now, the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, said that he's delighted to welcome Marjorie to the PRC. She's bringing a wealth of experience on the insurance side and will make a valuable contribution to the work of the committee. Marjorie has worked across a number of continents with broad experience in financial services, business and consulting. She served as president of the UK's Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, making her the first black African and the youngest under 40 and the third woman actually to hold this position. Well, she joins us now to tell us a little bit about her new role and the many others that she's packed into a remarkable career already. Marjorie, welcome.
Thank you, Peter.
Great to have you on the programme.
It's wonderful to be here.
All right, so let's start with this appointment at the BOE's Prudential Regulation Committee. Yes. What does this mean to you? I mean, this is huge.
Yes, it is probably my most significant professional achievement, and it's going to be a steep learning curve. It's going to require me to be really immersed in financial services regulation and to become even more deeply acquainted with UK policy than I am already.
All right, and you know, I mean, you're probably downplaying this a little bit, but a young black woman getting appointed to this, it was not an easy thing to do.
You know, I never think of myself through that lens.
Yeah.
I think of myself as a professional who's out there trying to do their best and to strive to greater heights and to achieve to the best of my potential. So yes, I think it is an anomaly in the sense that I probably one of few, if not the only, in that position. But really pleased to be there, looking forward to the challenge.
Well, congratulations. We're all very proud of you from here at the continent. Let's take a look at the role of the PRC. I mean, what does the Prudential Regulation Committee of the Bank of England do? And what do you see yourself contributing to?
So the Prudential Regulation Committee is the body within the Bank of England that's charged with the responsibility for fulfilling the function of the bank as the Prudential Regulation Authority, and which is the PRA for short, which is akin to the Prudential Authority here in South Africa. So my role is going to require being really immersed in policy making, and my contribution comes from a deep financial services background, predominantly in insurance, mostly spent in the UK, but partly spent in Canada, the Netherlands, and in South Africa. So I bring my background of risk management expertise as well as my actuarial science training.
All right, so policy changes, you're going to be influencing that. How banks, financial services companies all do the work that they do.
Absolutely, and particularly importantly at this time as the UK has left Europe, setting the framework for banks and insurers, a very UK-specific framework that's being consulted on right now.
All right, so that's Europe. Let's come back to the continent. I know you've had a lot of experience here. You've had a couple of big jobs with some big financial services companies here. But let's talk a little bit about South Africa, the continent in general. Where are we in terms of keeping banks and insurers in check and protecting us, the policyholders and the depositors?
I would say doing a good job, and always room for improvement for any regulatory body. The regulatory environment here in South Africa is quite similar to that of the UK. So the insurance supervision in particular mirrored that in Europe and until now in the UK as well, but customized for the South African environment. And there will be instances of failures of firms, but the idea is that they're well managed and that there are protections in place for policyholders. I would say that insurance in South Africa is very advanced, actually, in terms of penetration. So the proportion of premium volume relative to the GDP of the country is right up there with the Western countries.
All right, let's talk about insurances now that you've mentioned it. And I just wonder, when we look across the African continent, where are we? Because I know that in many countries, insurance is actually probably still a luxury.
I would definitely say so. In some countries, the penetration levels are very, very low, and insurance is seen as a nice to have, and for some, it doesn't even cross their minds. I suppose part of that is financial education, so making people aware of why insurance is important and what it can do for them, how it serves them, and how it serves a nation as well in creating financial resilience. For many people, it's not something that they would go out and want to buy, and the idea is to help them to appreciate what it would bring in the event of an adverse outcome. So, for example, smallholder farmers in much of our continent need protection in times of drought or when their crops don't perform as well. And that's certainly an area where microinsurance is advancing.
Yeah, I suppose education is key, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because we don't know what we don't know, and we've just been sort of bumbling along for a long time.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about you. And I mean, your story is quite inspiring. And I know you're going to be a little bit humble with this and downplay it a little bit. But how does a young black woman, born in England but mostly raised in Zimbabwe, end up working across continents and sitting at huge boardroom tables in a very short space of time in terms of a lifespan?
This young woman was raised to believe that there were no limits, so she didn't see herself being at a disadvantage. I never walked into a room believing that I didn't belong, and I suppose the idea of a glass ceiling was there, but never really felt limiting to me. So I've been curious, I've explored, I've worked in different countries, I've built networks, I've really enjoyed the intellectual exploration, shall I say. And through that, I believe in serendipity. So I've pushed on doors that present themselves and tried to see what's behind them.
But it's not been without challenges, and I guess it's how you overcome these over time, and that there are patriarchal views, gender, discriminatory views. How have you overcome these? Because there's a lot of young black women now who are looking at you and saying, I want to be that girl, but they don't believe that it's possible.
I think it's about being sympathetic to the points of view of others. So I've worked with, particularly on the continent, people who've seen me as their daughter, even though we've been peers. And it's about understanding that that's where they come from, and I don't have to inherit that as my label or the way that I show up. So for me, it really is about a belief system.
All right. Coaching is one thing that you like doing. Tell
Absolutely.
us about that and why it's important to you.
So I really love working with people and watching them develop, walking beside them as they shape their lives and create potential. And I've really enjoyed this aspect of my work because I've been in financial services for the greater part of my career. And I discovered this love and passion for coaching, which is really fulfilling. So it works well alongside this technical aspect of me.
All right. So one of the things that comes up quite a bit, and I think about London, and I think about how cosmopolitan this town, city is, and it's thrived as a result of that.
Yep.
And I just wonder if there are lessons for us on the continent in terms of being like you, movement, working in different places and contributing in different areas. Should we be doing that a bit more on this continent?
I would certainly encourage it, and I'm starting to see more and more of it happen. So African nationals in South Africa, South Africans abroad, rest of Africa mingling. I would say that that cross-pollination of thought and experiences is really positive. That infusion of cultures provides a platform for learning. Unfortunately, I don't see as much of that happening as I do the migration, the brain drain that's occurring from our continent. And it's sad on some level and understandable on another.
Yeah. So what lies ahead? I mean, you've done so much already in a few decades. What are your next ambitions? What are the big dreams that's still ahead for you?
I've not really plotted out a plan. I've always looked at opportunities as they arose and seen whether they fit with my values and whether they fit with what I'm really trying to achieve or grow into. So no huge plans upcoming, although interest in studying further. Watch this space. And we'll see what comes next.
All right, okay. We have to wrap now, but in a few seconds, I want you to give some advice to particularly the young black girl child so that they can do what you've done?
So I would say the same thing I'd say to my younger self, which is there is no formula, there is no set path. Explore, be curious, enjoy, connect with people, and above all, be authentic to yourself.
All right, Marjorie, we're so glad that we connected with you. Congratulations on
Thank
this
you very
BOE appointment. And I hope we'll be able to phone you directly now that you're sitting in such high offices. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, that's Marjorie Ngwenya, who's a actuary, British-born Zimbabwean, raised in Zimbabwe, but has done amazing things all over the world, and now just been appointed to become a member of the Bank of England's Prudential Regulation Committee. And that is not a small thing. All right, we're going to take